Hi guys, Wen here, Vaping Wen. It's Wednesday and I'm thinking that it's high time I do another quick review. I've been missing for a whole week. And, and today I'm doing things a bit differently. Instead of reviewing something that I've recently received, I'm actually doing a review for something that I've received quite a while back. In fact, somewhere about 3 months back. And that is going to be the Billetbridge. If you're not too familiar with the Billetbridge, let me just give you some quick background. If you're a Billetbox user, you will require an atomizing element. The Billetbox itself is a mod, and without an atomizing element, you won't be able to vape off it. Traditionally, what people use are things like cartomizers or rebuildable cartomizers, such as the Diver V1 or Diver V2. Now, the Billetbridge is a third alternative to either of those, and this comes from Greece, from a Greek company called Atmistique. Is that right? Atmistique, right? And they build it to be an easy and convenient way to use your billet box. When I say easy and convenient, I really mean it. The billet box, or rather the Billetbridge, is built to run off Aspire BDC heads, Aspire BDC coils, and BDC coils are actually a short form for bottom dual coil. If they are bottom dual coil, then wouldn't BDC coils be BDC bottom dual coil? Semantics. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. Um, why am I only reviewing it now? Now, that's a good question. Basically, today, as I was browsing Facebook earlier today, I noticed that a couple of local sellers have been pushing pictures of cloned billet boxes. They claim that they are one-to-one clones. I really don't know how they work. But if they really are one-to-one clones, then we can expect a new batch of billet box users in the near future. And what I really wanted to uh, achieve by doing this video is to give these new users another option besides cartomizers and divers. Divers, although I haven't used one personally, they have a pretty strong reputation at being one of the hardest atomizers to rebuild. So, if you're not in the mood to rebuild or be agonized trying to rebuild a diver, and you don't like the way that cartomizers vape, then the BDC, or rather the Billetbridge, is definitely something you can look into. Okay, enough from me. I'm just going to take a quick vape and I'll move the camera down to give you a better look at the Billetbridge. Alright guys, I have moved the camera down and taken the Billetbridge out of the tank. Had a small technical mishap just now and got juice all over the place, but I've cleared that up now, and so let's just dive into this. Alright, so the Billetbridge itself is made up of two main parts, the base and the tube. When you take it out of the packet, these are the only two parts that you will get, and without a BDC head, they are practically useless. As you can see, it's just a very nicely milled out metal tube with a sort of reduced chamber in there. It's not just a straight up tube. There's some tapering in there. And on the bottom, you get a sort of ring there. And for the base, it is just a threaded ring. Really nothing much to shout about in terms of design or anything. It's just a really precision made sort of ring to hold the BDC head. Now, to assemble it, you gotta take your pack of BDC heads. You open this, and I only have one more left right there. Let's zoom in this to give you a better look at what a BDC head looks like. Now, let me just take this out. Pops out like a pill, doesn't it? And this is the BDC head. You can see one hole here, one hole here. This is for the juice to go into the wicks. And there is some writing here. Not sure if the camera can pick it up, but it says 1.8 ohm. Use it between 3 to 5 volts. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. To assemble the billet bridge is very simple. Take the threaded ring, screw the BDC head onto it, like so. Take the other tube section, put that on top, and just thread this whole thing into your tank. Now, let's just quickly go over some of the differences between the billet bridge and a regular cartomizer. Now, the first things first is that this is purpose-built for billet boxes. And billet box Delrin tanks have very thin O-ring on the top and the bottom. And one problem that you face when using it with cartomizers, if you're not using with a carto diver, a carto puncher, rather carto diver, whenever you put your cartomizer in, the sharp edge, the top will cut into these O-rings. And repeated cutting in will naturally wear the O-rings down, make them thinner and whatnot. So the edge of the billet bridge is rounded here. It's not sharp in any way. This end is sharp, but this end is not. This end is very blunt and rounded. So naturally you would push this end in, and it goes in without any problems, without damaging your O-rings either. Let's align that to get the Atmistique logo facing out. Very nice. Okay, so we've got that top part in. The next step is to push the head in. Now personally, I like to align the head with at least one juice channel facing the front of the tank. Of course, you could do it sideways, no harm there, but I like to have the juice channel facing the tank. As with the top section, the bottom section is also rounded here, no sharp edges, so you will not damage your O-ring when you're putting this in. So let's put this in. Now, I did not push this in all the way yet. I would like to push this in first, and you can see that the bottom is sitting very, very flush with the Delrin, with the tank itself. What you do now is you push down the top to get this to somewhat lock, and there it is, locked in. You just want to adjust it so it sits nice and tight. And basically, that's all there is to assembling a billet bridge. Okay, put that down. Now, what is the other key difference between a billet bridge using the aspire head and the cartomizer? It's primarily how the airflow works. On a cartomizer, now I didn't bring one with me, but on a cartomizer, let's get this in focus again. You will have two air holes at the base, one on one side and one on the other side. These are relatively small air holes, and that gives cartomizers somewhat of a tighter draw. On a BDC head, air comes through this singular hole here, and the bottom is slotted. So even if this was sitting flush, you will still have ample space for air to flow in both sides. Comparing this to a cartomizer, the airflow is much looser. So if you are not a fan of the tight draw of a cartomizer, this would be a welcome change. Of course, with some simple tools like a hand drill or even a carto puncher, you could definitely add more holes into your cartomizer. But I don't like sort of having to tinker with things to get them to my liking. I like things to come out of the box just the way it is, and if I like it, I like it. One more thing to note, since this is empty, I'm just going to fill it up with e-liquid. And one thing to note about the billet bridge is how it performs optimally. Now, the billet box has a 6 ml capacity, I believe, and you know, as a new user, you'd be very tempted to fill it up to the brim, 6 ml. Not a problem if you're using a cartomizer, or dare I say even a diver. But after about 3 months of usage, I sort of realized that the billet bridge does tend to give you dry hits when you overfill it. When the juice is almost full, I'll say anywhere between 5 or 6 milliliters, milliliter ml, yeah, then the pressure within the tank does not accommodate to optimal wicking. You will get dry hits, you will get somewhat of a burnt silica taste. And I found that sort of the best amount of liquid would be 4 milliliters. Now I'm filling this in. I'm just going to pop this into my billet box and give it a quick vape. Alright, so I filled up the tank with approximately 4 mils of liquid. I'm using Black Apple by Cloud Chasing Chimp, and this is a 45 PG 55 VG mix. So it's relatively thick, higher on the PG than VG, but the Billetbridge will not have problems keeping up with wicking if you do not feel it full. Again, I want to emphasize that I'm not sure about the perfect amount, so to say, of liquid to put in, but 4 mils of liquid seems to be the sweet spot for good wicking. Another thing I talk about is the relatively low position of the juice channel. It's quite low, so you'll be able to use your billet bridge to pick up really the last bits of e-liquid in your tank. Pretty good, pretty good. Now, all that's left to do is to let it sit for maybe 2 or 3 minutes for the wick to start absorbing the e-liquid. Pop this into the billet box, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so I've got the billet bridge now installed in my billet box, filled up with the juice, and as you can see, 4 mils of juice, you get a 3/4 full tank, and that's pretty much good there already. Good to go for at least half a day. Half a day, yeah, about half a day. I go through about 8 mils of juice a day. But anyway, I'm going to take a quick vape just to show you what sort of vapor production it can produce. By the way, I'm running this at 4.2 volts, quite a low setting. Uh, I find that anything higher than 475, start to get a burnt taste on my palate. But anyway, let's give this a quick vape. Very smooth air intake because of that one big slot instead of the two small holes that you get on a cartomizer. And if you're going to compare this against flavor production of a rebuildable atomizer like a K-Fun or a Typhoon, you're definitely going to be definitely going to experience much less flavor, but I'll put it somewhere on par with what you get from using a regular cartomizer. The sweet sharp notes aren't as apparent as they would be on a K-Fun or a Typhoon on silica or cotton. Definitely, it's going to be much more dull when compared to a dripper, but the flavor is still very whole, very very tasty on the tongue. Just maybe a tad less sweet than it would be on a rebuildable, on a silica, or on a cotton. Again, you can see that the airflow wise, I'm able to take long drags, whereby on a cartomizer, the air draw will be much tighter and you will be able to take probably short drags. Long drags would tend to cause overwicking, which could lead to some problems on your uh, tank later, lead to moisture getting into the billet box and whatnot. But right now, everything is dry as a bone and it performs really well. Vapor production wise, very, very decent. Very decent. Of course, it's a BDC hit, so it's comparable to what you get on tanks like the Aspire BDC tank. I believe it's called the Maxi tank for the small one. It should be somewhat similar to what you get on an Aspire Nautilus, although the head sizes are different. They are still using the same sort of head technology. They're both from Aspire. There you go. In terms of consumables, the heads do cost quite a bit. They cost about 7 ringgit each. I believe that they will cost a bit cheaper when you purchase them in packs of 5, like in a pack similar looking to this. You should get them a bit cheaper, and you can get them locally quite easily. For the Billetbridge itself, I really should have prepared this. Let me just pull out the Atmistique website. Atmistique atmistique.gr/en for English. Let's move this quickly using the power of video editing. This whole section should be bypassed. Okay, so I've located the Billetbridge on the Atmistique website. It does take a bit of prodding to find, but basically the Billetbridge itself retails at 20 euros. Incidentally, Atmistique are also the makers of the Diver and Diver V2, and I guess that they built the Billetbridge to address sort of the difficulty in rebuilding divers. So for 20 euros, for the Billetbridge, you're looking at about another 35 ringgit for a pack of coil heads, and you'll be good to go. As you've seen, it was very straightforward to replace. Took me less than on a regular day, it took me less than 2 minutes just to get it all done. Of course, using the Billetbox, if your tank isn't full, you can just tip it over, push the long tube out, then pull the short part out, and you can still retain your juice without having to change it. Okay, so that was just a quick review on the Billetbridge. If you are going to pick up a Billetbox anytime soon, authentic or clone, as long as you can use it with a 510 carto or rebuildable carto, you should be able to use it with a Billetbridge. There you go, guys. I'm going to take a quick break and sign off for today. Have a good one.